All right, now we're getting to some fun stuff. I like this kind of math. This math, I just enjoyed this kind of math. And now, example 4, section 7.4. We're solving these interesting polynomials, these interesting equations. It's a polynomial set equal to 0, and it wants us to solve. We need to find what x is going to be. We need to find the roots. But looking at that, it's like, what? What's going on? So what we're going to do is we're going to combine all the tools that we just did in all of them, all of the examples that we just did into this one, okay? First, we're going to factor out its greatest common factor, okay? What number and variable can we pull out of this? Now, I know 4 and 2 and 1 goes into both of these numbers. But we want the greatest one, which would be 4. So we're going to pull out a 4, okay? Now, there's an x squared and an x. I can't go greater than x because there's only this one right here. So I'm going to pull out an x. So I pull those out. 4x goes into 4x squared x times, because 4x times x is 4x squared. Plus, and we have this 12 here. 4 goes into 12 3 times. X goes into x 1 time, but we don't need to write the 1. Okay? Equals 0. So I just factored out the greatest common factor, which is 4x. Now, that looks a whole lot easier to find the roots. And that would be, you can set this equal. You can do 4x equals 0 and then solve for x. Or you could just look at it and you know that any number times 0 is 0. And if this is 0 times this whole thing is going to be 0. So obviously x has to equal 0. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is plug it in and try. All you have to do is plug in 0. 4 times 0 is 0. 0 times 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. 0 times 3 is 0. Okay, but this isn't the only answer. There is one more. It's right here. What number would I put right in there to make this whole thing be 0? A negative 3. Very good. If I plug a negative 3 plus 3 is 0. 0 times whatever that will be is still 0. So a negative 3. Those are the roots. Now the next one you're probably a little worried about. Don't worry. Just breathe. And do all the steps that you know. We don't like having this a over here. We want it to be equal to 0 in order to solve and find the roots. So what I will do is I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. That gives me 0. Now I can factor out the greatest common factor. 1 goes into those, 2 goes into both of them, 3 does not, 4 does not, 5 does not, 6 does not, 7, 8, no, the only number that would go into both of those is 2. A negative 2, because these are both negative, so a negative 2. And then a, because there's only the 1 right there. So I pulled out, I factored out a negative 2a. And negative 2a goes into a negative 10a squared. Well, negative 2 into negative 10 is 5 times, and a into a squared is just a. Negative 2 into negative 8 is 4 times, and a to a is 1, which I don't need to include. Now that I have my, oh, that was horrible, sorry. It's factored out, I can easily find the roots. Easily, I know 0, because negative 2 times 0 is 0, 0 times this whole thing is 0. How about this one? Do you remember the pattern? If I have a positive, I know my answer is going to be negative, and it's going to be this number over this number. Those are my roots. And if that's still challenging to do that, you can just take that number, or not that number, but you can take this part, this binomial right here, and set it equal to 0 and then solve for it. So you would subtract 4 from both sides and get 5a equals a negative 4. Then you're going to divide by 5 on both sides, and a equals negative 4 over 5. I think you can't see that. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Okay?